edge rusher.
Finally, here we go.
And
The
a guard.
commish.
Still no running back for them, right?
That's correct. Chad Hutchinson's coming out. Right
Well,
now.
we're going to see if it's the linebacker out of Notre Dame. Don't get me to trying to say his
I just want
name.
to thank the Cowboys organization for giving me this opportunity to
Maybe he's
represent
picking
them
tomorrow.
tonight.
That's all right. Chad Hennings is back.
Chad Hennings,
To
pardon
my
me.
son Chase to announce the third-round draft selection.
All
Chase.
There
right.
you go.
With the 87th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Dallas Cowboys select
Maris.
Leofau, the
Leofau.
linebacker, Notre Dame.
Marius Leofau. Kelly hit it. Bing, 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 bing. Linebacker out of Notre Dame. There we go. Defensive side of the ball. I like it. Because it's a linebacker. How you feel about it there, Kelly? I know you knew about it already. What's your thoughts on it?
It's a good thing, but
pretty
also
good.
at times can be a
I
bad
feel
thing,
real
which
good
leads
about it
to
because
some
we
missed
did
tackles.
need to
But you
address
talk about playing with
linebacker.
energy and edge and passion. Those are the
Is he
traits
going
that
to be on
translate
the
very
opposite
well to
side?
special teams. I saw Drew Tranquill with the Chargers kind
Or
of
is
begin
he
his
gonna be on
career
the,
there and earn more time on
on
the
the same
field. Then he
side?
gets a
I don't know. It
chance to
sounds
go
like
against
Mike
the
Zimmer
Chiefs.
got some decisions. Yeah, it sounds like Mike Zimmer got some decisions to make as Kelly and BG are back at it in the gym. Just like that, we flip-flop, baby. It is the draft recap show with BDG. How we doing today, Draft Queen, on a Sunday?
We are doing well.
I know that's right. I know you're just saying you got out of church today and you said the good word was about quantum leaps.
Well, the sermon was on quantum questions, but our theme for the year is quantum leap.
Kind of sounds like what the Draft Whisperer did with these 8 draft picks in this NFL draft. And we're here to discuss it today on quantum leaps because just a couple of weeks ago, everybody was saying the Cowboys was in rebuild mode. I don't know,
Yep.
Kelly. Are we in rebuild mode? Let's talk about it today.
Yeah, we are in rebuild mode because look at the starters that we have lost in this year's free agency. So this is a rebuilding. This is going to be a rebuilding team for the future, for whatever will happen with the outcome of if we are losing McCarthy, or in the season or after the season.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot at stake here today. So if you're just joining us, welcome to the show. We're going to get into the trenches today about the draft recap. I've got the draft queen with us here. If you've been tuning in with us, if you caught that just intro right there, she called it as she had an inside connection there, knew about Maris Leofau before the fact. But if you're tapping in on one of the 4 locations today, welcome to the show. We're on Facebook, we're on LinkedIn, we're on YouTube, and we're on X. So throw up the X for Des Bryant. Matter of fact, I think that wide receiver we drafted, Ryan Flournoy, a lot of folks, and even he's saying people compare him to the X as we throw up the X and get the show started off here today. Let's get some shout outs, baby. Let's see who's rolling with us. Yo, Dominguez, what up? You just tapping in, give us a comment. Let us know where you're watching from, especially on the different platforms. We're on the draft recap show here today. Domingo says everyone is mad about the draft, but it did what it was supposed to. It feels some major holes needed on the lines. I agree. In the trenches, baby. In the trenches.
Yeah.
But yeah, are y'all finished or y'all done? I mean, a lot of folks don't even know who Will McClay is here today. So we definitely want to educate you on who the VP of player personnel is for the Dallas Cowboys, the man behind the drafts at the Star since 2014. And ours guest here today actually has an inside line to Will McClay too as well, and her picture was on the photo, on the cover photo here today. So how does it feel to kind of be able to rub shoulders with the draft whisperer? Kelly, let's start there first.
When I first met him, I was like, okay, hey Will. Everybody's like, who is that? Who is that? I was like, y'all don't know who he is? I said, that's our VP of player personnel, and he's also in charge of the scouting department as well. Of course, if you have seen our war room on the exterior sides, those are our scouts, and he works closely with them. So we have our scouts and we have our field area scouts as well. So when they go to their respected regions and everything. They report back to him, and then he also will go to see them himself. He's a very integral member, or not member, but a very integral visitor for our Senior Bowl and the East West Shrine Bowl that is at Frisco.
Nice. We got some more folks rolling in. Just do us a favor. Make sure and give us a comment. Let us know the comments are working. Let us know what platform you're watching on. Throw up your draft grade. I'm going to explain mine here with y'all today as I've given the Will McClay, the draft whisperer, an A+, especially after getting a failing grade from the NFL assessment last season. So we're going to talk into further detail about that. But welcome everybody to the show. We are 19 Sundays away from the Dallas Cowboys kicking off this fall on September 8th. You know, we just concluded the NFL draft. I've got Kelli here with us today. We're going to go through each of these draft picks as we start off in round one, where we needed some holes filled on the trenches, right? And coming out round one, everybody was saying we could have waited for Tyler Guyton. But Tyler Guyton was heavily coveted by the Cowboys and Will McClay's staff. Would you please pontificate on our first draft pick?
So, as I said, with our first draft pick, he was needed. He's definitely going to be Dak's blind side since we lost Tyron Smith to free agency. So that side had to be filled first. I understand everyone saying like we need a center because we lost Tyler Biotish, but that center, not that center, that left side, that left tackle part, we needed to fill that. That to me, that was the most important position to fill because this draft was very heavily populated with offensive line and centers. As you could see, if you did not catch what they were saying during the draft, in the first round, 23 offensive linemen were drafted in the first round.
That's a lot.
Very a lot.
I mean, how many picks we went? I mean, we went a whole lot of picks on the offensive side of the ball before the first defensive pick even cracked the draft. Did we not? I think how many picks was it?
Yeah, a lot.
I know it was at 16 or something, I think, at one point. So y'all know, throw your comments up there. I know somebody out there knows.
So the one that has all my wonderful projections, because I crushed the first round. So after we went, so on the defensive side of the ball, we did not see that until pick 15.
Okay, 15. So 14 offensive straight picks before a defensive player came off the board.
Yeah. And then
that's a lot.
After that, 15, 16, 17 were all D linemen. Then we picked back up to offensive line on pick 18. And then after that, it was like every other pick was a defensive line. So every two picks were a defensive line.
I mean, especially, losing Tyron Smith, big hole, losing Tyler Biotish, big hole. I just didn't understand the Cowboy fans out there that are still campaigning the fact that we didn't get a running back in this draft. That it's a problem. But we'll get to that because we got some undrafted free agents we're going to talk about here in just a second. There's some folks we see commenting about Zeke here too, as well as that chatter's beginning to rise. But, I mean, it makes sense to go right in the trenches, round one, Tyler Guyton. I mean, how much was he coveted on the Dallas Cowboys draft board? He was very coveted, right?
Very.
And what makes a player so coveted by Will McClay and his staff when it comes to the draft? Are there certain things that have to take place, or are there touch points, or is there some kind of score they keep? Could you maybe elaborate a little bit about that for us?
Well, yeah, they do have a comparison chart. They do have a it's almost like a graph board that they have, and it will have something with like their measurements, their vertical jump, their cone, all the drills that happens in combine. and then it will have like their measurables as far as like their height, their weight, their wingspan, their arm length, their hand size, and then they also compare that player to either an on roster player, whether it's with the Cowboys or not, and retired players.
Now, I've heard also that, you know, especially during some of Will McClay's interviews, that they get a chance, the more that they see players in person during this process, from the Senior Bowl to the scouting combine, to all these different things, that really has some value to it.
Yeah, and especially when they're homegrown. He's from Texas.
Right. A lot of folks didn't know until after the fact him and his family have grown up in the Oklahoma area as Dallas Cowboy fans.
Mm-hmm. But he also has family in Texas, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, he's homegrown Cowboys fan. Like you saw, his dad, he just had to soak it in because it was only a few months ago they were touring, just a regular tour to the stadium, and then this happens.
Wow. Yeah, I seen his reactions as they unveiled his locker in the locker room in there, and he was like, OMG. So shout out to Tyler G, holding down this offensive line. He's got some people with their britches in a bunch because he's been quoted as saying he's violent and he likes to hit people or something to that effect. Let me just grab that quote and pull that up right quick as we get ready to transition to our second round pick, because the trenches really matter. And I believe Will McClay, I think we went 4 offense, 4 defense, did we not?
Yes.
Here we go. I got this. Let's put this up here. Here is what Tyler Guyton had to say. As you're tapping in here, he says, on the field, I want to hurt people. I'm violent. I mean, have we heard this here before?
Yeah, but the thing is, he practiced what he preached. That's the difference.
Right. No, because a lot of folks are coming for Mozzie Smith, and rightfully so, because, Mozzie had said something to this effect. And I believe that was about before Dan Quinn had him lose about 30 to 40 pounds. But, yeah, folks are coming for our guy, Tyler. I believe Tyler going to have the receipts between me and you. I think so, too, as well.
Yeah, and like I said, I was more so and it's not to, to show a flex or give myself a pat on the back. I kind of did on the first, because I knew that we were going to get Tyler Guyton, and I did not need a text message for that. So I used what we say our woman's intuition, and I said, we're drafting Tyler Guyton. And I already put it on the draft board. I have like the Cowboys draft board that is set aside from the other 32. So I said first round Tyler Guyton, because I know everyone was king ho. Not everyone, but some people were king ho on Jackson Powers Johnson. I wasn't so king ho on him, to the fact because, like I said, some intel, they were like, he bombed the interview. So a lot of people, when I say, okay, like during your lives and everything, I said it's some issues with JPJ because it's red flags on his medicals. It's not necessarily like his health wise, it's also his football IQ. Some of the questions that they were asking him did not suit up to what they were looking for as far as with the senior. They already had interviews with a center that we already have on the books, Brock Hoffman. I like Brock Hoffman. So him and Cooper Beebe, they want to battle it out for that center position.
Right.
But the only caveat that Cooper Beebe have over Brock Hoffman is he's a hybrid. He can play guard and he can play center.
Before we get to Cooper Beebe, which was our number 3 pick, let's get to our second pick, which the draft whisperer went from the offensive side of the ball directly to the defensive side of the ball. And a lot of folks are questioning, why Marshawn Nealon, this edge out of Western Michigan. Tell the people what you know or what we found out after the fact, because I know Marshawn was nowhere near on your draft board.
No, because you should. you saw my face when that text message came in and said pick 56 Marshall.
Right. Yeah. It's like, who is that? Who?
Because I was hoping I didn't say a very colorful word, because I knew that this was going to be, that clip was going to be cut and posted, because I had to check myself. I said, I hope I didn't say anything that, Okay,
Right.
so Marshawn Nealon, defensive end for Western Michigan. Western Michigan is a smaller school. He had many visits on with the Cowboys via in person, via phone, via Zoom. He was very shocked to receive the call that he will be the the second round pick 56 slot for us. He has violent hands. He's very fast. He's physical to stop the run, which is very needed for us. He is compared to, as far as on our team, DeMarcus Lawrence. Happy birthday, DeMarcus Lawrence.
Yes, it is. Happy birthday, Big Tank.
He's going to be a big help to Micah Parsons on that same side. He's a former track star. Some of the things that he needs to improve on is he needs to get bigger in size. When he went into the combine, he weighed in at 257. He's 6'3". His wingspan is 83 and 3/8 in length. His arm length is 34 and a half. His hand size is 10. His 10-yard split is 1:66 seconds. He ran a 4.75 in the 40-yard dash. His vertical jump is 35 and a half. His broad jump is 119. His 3-cone drill was 7.2 seconds. His 20-yard shuttle was 4.18, and he bench pressed 21 reps.
That sounds like a big boy, especially out there on that edge. I mean, a lot of folks are questioning. Here is some inside information as we talk about Marshawn Freeland. You said Western Michigan. I know you and I were talking backstage. You said we better not draft any Michigan players.
Yeah.
He's from Western Michigan.
Man, if I had a picket sign, I would have been right there, like, no Michigan players.
There was quite a few Michigan players that actually went in this draft. I don't know how many.
And I was like, keep it coming. Don't let it come to us.
I'm sure there's some Michigan fans out there. Where's my guy RC up there in AK, or Cuff out there in Ohio? I'm pretty sure the Michigan fans know how many of their guys got drafted. But
and I stood on business on their post and said we don't want them.
Right.
But Marshawn Nealon, during his finishing campaign for his career high at Western Michigan, he has 57 tackles, 4.5 sacks. Tackles for loss is 7.5. He had 2 forced fumbles, and he quarterback carried 8.
Now, when we go through our first 2 picks before we get to pick 3 here, got a quick question, and we're going to go through the rest of those players here. From Joe Tranchino off in Italy, he says, I want to just ask you, Kelly, out of the first 2 picks, I mean, I know Tyler Guyton is starting right out the gate. Would you necessarily say Marshawn Nealon is starting out of the gate when it comes to both of these 2 players off the board?
Yeah, because we don't have – in my opinion, he's the Sean Lee replacement.
Okay. We'll get back to that. So great question, Joe Tranchino. I kind of wanted to wait until after we got through all of our players here, because Kelly's going to give us some feedback on the draft recap. So if you got questions as we go down the line, we go down the list on these players, throw them up there, follow along on the discussion. If you're really enjoying the content, make sure you like, give us that comment, let us know where you're watching. And please, y'all know, green badges, come on, raise the bar. James Beatty is still in the running. So quick plug right quick before we get to 3. James Beatty is still in the running. I got a Russell Maryland autographed jersey with a COA and the big 3. Look at that.
wrong name. He will be more so like LVE, not Sean Lee.
Got you. So throw up your questions as you follow along as we get into pick 3, because I really am hearing across multiple sources that this next pick, the third pick in the draft, as the draft whisperer flips back to the offensive side of the ball and goes and gets Mr. Hands himself, Cooper Beebe, who actually blocked for Deuce Vaughn when he was there, right, Kelly?
Yeah. Yes.
So what does this say? What does this spell for? Does this spell good things maybe for a Deuce Vaughn, as we're going to get to some running back talk here in a minute as they reunite here? Shout out to my guy, Jay Tuck over on YouTube. He called it way last December, said there would be a reunion between Cooper Beebe and Deuce Vaughn.
Yes. So Cooper Beebe. I honestly forgot when I spoke with our assistant offensive line coach when he came up here for Howard University's pro day. Even though they were there, Daquan, I asked him what were some other potentials as far as the O-line, so we could get that wall. What were some other prospects? I forgot that he said Cooper Beebe from Kansas State. So when that name came, so the second round was almost like an abusive relationship to me, in my opinion, because everyone, like, I did drop in OAT the players that they were looking at, and I was going by round and by need. So I saw some people that was on BDG was like, well, what was all this inside stuff that Kelly had? And I said, well, if you was in OAT and looking at the post, I was posting everything in real time as it was coming in. Okay, we're in round 2. These are the players we were looking at based on that round by need. So when all those players started to leave in the second round, like we lost Trevondre Sweat. I really wasn't so keen on getting him after all the colorful stuff that was going on with him. I said we do not need any more. Any more.
We don't need any players with no distractions like we've had in the past here. I think we've got that culture changed, and it's really sad. I'm glad that you brought that up before we get into the stat by Cooper Beebe. I see a lot of fans are going around just because a player is of an ethnic color that they're going to assume they're going to get into some domestic violence case or get locked up or get a DUI. Look, man, don't be on my timeline with that bullshit. That's a quick way to get blocked, especially when these players don't have those past. And if they did, it's not our job here to talk about that. BDG, we don't get messy. So just remember that. But getting back to your guy, Cooper Beebe only gave up 2 sacks on, how many is that? Let me get to that. He said 1,259 pass blocking snaps at his career at Kansas State.
Yeah, and on his RAS, which is the relative athletic score, he graded out as a 9.49 out of 10.
Ooh. So maybe the steal of the draft.
Yes, he's one of the steals of the draft. We had a lot of steals. Normally we did one, but we got 2. So
would it be safe to say with the absence of Tyler Biotis that this is our future center right here?
Well, it depends. Like I said, he's a hybrid. So
a lot of people are saying, oh, he's going to be the center. A lot of folks saying, well, we shouldn't have got him. Maybe we should have drafted a traditional center. What is your thoughts?
No, we didn't, because look. So if he's guard, his main position is right side. Who do we have on the right side as guard?
I don't know. You tell me.
Zach Martin.
Right.
So
number 70.
Yes. So he has over 10 years in the league. And it's been a couple of times where we had to see him get up off the field because something has happened.
So a little depth behind Father Time then.
Exactly. So by him being a hybrid, if Brock Hoffman, let's say if he wins the the center position. We can slide BB Cooper in right guard, and they can alternate and do right guard in rotation.
Mm-hmm.
So if anything were to happen to Zach Martin, then we have BB Cooper to go in to right guard. Did he play a lot of right guard at Kansas State? Nope, because he was the center and he was also the block wall for Deuce Vaughn.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why Deuce Vaughn, when he had those opportunities with Cooper Beebe, he got real crafty and he was sneaking and running through a D line. And sometimes you could not even catch him. Like I watched some tape of Deuce Vaughn. I lost him. And by the time I saw him again, he was in the end zone.
Well, I don't know if Cooper Beebe exactly opens up the lane for a Deuce Vaughn, because we definitely got some questions about our backfield. But before we get to that, let's continue to get through the rest of our draft picks, because in that same round, we went out on the defensive side of the ball again, as we struck 2 times on the offensive side with Tyler Guyton out of round 1, Cooper Beebe out of round 2. We see Marshawn Nealon round 2 on the defensive side of the ball. And then here we go, addressing need at linebacker position with Maris Liufau, who on the intro video here, you had got an inside information. That's who we were going with before it was announced. What do you know about Maris Liufau?
Okay, Maris Liufau. He is the 2023 Buckets Award semifinalist. He is the 2023 Notre Dame Defensive Player of the Game versus Navy. As we talked about before, he is the cousin of Rams wide receiver Puka Nacua. During the combine, he ran a respectable 4.64 in the 40-yard dash, which was 70% of the 70th in the percentile. He's a physicality. He's very physical. He has an IQ. A high IQ. He's reminiscent to Sean Lee. So his size, his weight is, he comes in at 267 pounds. He is 6'3". His wingspan is 83. Oh, I'm sorry, wrong person. That's Marshawn. Let's run that back.
Well, a lot of folks are saying this could be Troy Polamalu 2.0. I mean, he kind of looks like it with the hair going on and the whole Polynesian thing. Shout out to Polynesian gang out there.
Yeah. So, oh no, I'm reading it right. So his wingspan is 83 3/8. He is compared to Chris Long, Austin Bryant, our former edge Dorrance Armstrong, Frank Clark. So yeah, very, very good. I like him.
Well, I mean, I know we needed linebacker position, as we've seen the Dallas Cowboys picked up the 5th-year option on defensive end Michael Parsons, because that is where he played most of his snaps this year. He wasn't listed as a linebacker. So going out and getting Maris Liufau, I like it, because the reports I'm getting, I mean, this guy is a hard hitter. I mean, somebody who can also provide coverage in the passing game too.
And he's going to be very coachable too, especially with us getting Eric Kendricks, who is a Zimmer
product. Yeah, he's a Zimmer prototype there.
So he
coming in there with the defense.
He can coach Maris up as well. Yes, Johnny, he is a Zimmer type of guy.
Good deal. I like it so far. So there we go. That's your 2 offensive side, 2 defensive side. And then before we get into number 5, going back to the defensive side of the ball, I mean, how would you give this overall draft before we cut to the chase here? What would you grade on a scale of A+ being the best to a failing grade on what Will McClay got last season, according to the NFL assessment that was provided? What kind of grade would you give this draft as we get ready to get halfway through it here?
I say because we based majority of our needs from the losses that we have taken during free agency. Right now, just right now, I'm giving it a high B plus.
Okay. All right. I mean, a lot of folks are saying we did well, but a lot of folks are also saying the sky is falling because the Dallas Cowboys didn't go out and get a running back. But don't worry about that. We're going to get that to just a second as we get into round 5. Yeah, we're going to get to that. As we get into round 5, because round 5, we went on quarterback, defensive side of the ball, the secondary showing some love. And I'm just thinking right here because the rumors about Zeke coming back and the fact that Carolina is entertaining Stephon Gilmore, we don't think the Cowboys are possibly going to retain Stephon Gilmore's services. I mean, this might be a pretty good pick. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, this one was a very sneaky pick. This was a sneaky pick. And it's a very decent pick too, because this pick was definitely just in case we lose Stephon Gilmore. He's a two-way player. He plays cornerback as well as wide receiver.
Kind of like Trayvon.
Yeah. He delivered a 4.48 in the 40-yard dash in the pre-draft test, which was 57th of the percentile. And that's compared to Trevon Diggs running a 4.42 during his combine. Let me keep scrolling. He weighs 199 pounds. His wingspan is 75 and 5/8. His arm length is 31 and 3/8. His hand size is 8 1/4. He was a invite to this year's combine.
So was he on your draft board anywhere, or where was he in relation to the Cowboys draft board? Because a lot of folks are still saying around this time of the draft, we should have been looking for a running back instead of a cornerback.
So from what I've seen, as far as with the draft board, from what I remember that Gil Brandt showed me, they have something called an A side and a B side. He was on the B side. So all those players that I was giving in OAT was on the A side because that's who they were looking at. But because where we were in the draft, those players were falling off the board and they had to flip to the B side. So when all those players were gone to other teams, Kalen Carson was the next available player on that draft board. The only con that I had, because I did listen to his interview that was streaming live on 105.3 as well as the Dallas Cowboys radio podcast. He's giving me Boss Man Fett vibes because he also raps. He's trying to. So when I heard that, I said, "Oh gosh, here we go again." Yeah. And that's his little hustle. When we get to the other pick, I'm gonna touch base on that too.
Yeah. No, please, no more Boss Man Fats. We don't need any of that going on, especially with the distraction stuff that came along with a Boss Man Fat.
Like in his free time and stuff, he's in the studio working on trying to put on a new album. I was like, oh God, here we go.
Okay, again. Yeah, no, he gonna learn real quick. You better look. My advice to this cat is don't come in there talking about all that music shit for the first year. You better put it down, show up, be on time, not miss any meetings or any of that. Because the Cowboys, you don't come in there and take care of business, and you trying to take care of your business outside the star, you're gonna find yourself outside the star. But let's get to our next pick. Because on the defensive side of the ball, we went from cornerback to wide receiver. So I thought Will McClay might get offensive. I was expecting for us to draft the running back, but this pick really intrigues me because Ryan Flournoy apparently likes to think people say he's compared to the play of Dez Bryant. What are you hearing about Ryan Flournoy drafted as a wide receiver here, round 6, pick 216?
He should have been drafted a long time ago. he should have went in the second, either the mid-second or early third round.
Let me just share this right quick before you get into your notes, Kelly. It says Flournoy racked up 135 catches, 1,993 yards, 13 touchdowns in just 2 seasons in college.
Yeah.
He produced the fastest wide receiver GPS time during the 2024 Combine. Who is that compared to? Puka Nacua
Sure.
did it in 2023. Ooh.
Yeah.
Like you said, he probably should have been drafted a long time ago.
Yeah. So for him to fall to us, to me, this is giving me the 2020 draft, because CeeDee Lamb should have been gone way before we got him. Because I think we got him in 2020, pick 17, if I'm not mistaken. He should have been gone a long time ago. So when he fell to 17, he was still sitting on the board, knowing that we really didn't need a wide receiver that early. But by him being, he fell to us, they went and got him. Jerry was on his boat and said, let's get this dude. So to me, for him to fall the way that he did, that's the only comparison I can give. Flournoy, he's a first team All Ohio Valley Conference. He was the team captain. He's the all conference pick in high school. On his RAS is the relative athletic scale. Out of 10, he graded in at a 9.88. He started 11 games and led the entire team with 984 receiving yards, receiving touchdowns 7, receiving yards per game 89.5, and this was in his first year with the program at Southeast Missouri. During his combine, he ran a 4.44 40-yard dash, which further illustrated the point regarding of his athleticism, as does his 39.5 vertical, which was the 89th percentile. His broad jump was 132 inches, which was the 94th percentile, and his bench press was 19, which was the 83rd percentile, which indicated he's not only fast and quick, but he packs some serious strength on his 6'1" frame, and he only weighs 202 pounds. He obliterated all NFL combine tests.
Well, let's let the tape do the talking here. We got some highlights up here. Can y'all hear that?
No, I don't hear anything.
The sound wasn't coming in?
No, I don't hear the sound.
All right, let me try that again. That was ill-fated there. But anyway, I wanted to get some highlights here of Ryan Flournoy, because, for a guy to come out and say that folks are saying that he's playing like Dez Bryant, you know what I mean? I wanted to take note of that. And let's take a look at some highlights here.
I'm also on BDG seeing if there's any some questions as well that I can address.
Here we are, goal line action. Flournoy, boom. He had his guy beat. Yeah. Kind of looks like a little Dez there to me, a little stiff armish, if you know what I'm saying. I really love the pick. Getting offensive, 4 offensive players, 4 defensive players. Ryan Flournoy, either way, we're going to find out in camp if he plays like Dez Bryant a lot, because folks are going to come test him, and remember that. They're going to keep the receipts on our guy. You best believe that. But as we get into round 7, these last couple of players, I don't really know much about, Kelly, and thank you for doing such an illustrious job on all our players to date here. So make sure if you've watched the draft or if you like to give your draft grade here or your draft assessment, remember Will McClay had a failing grade by the NFL last year. What would you give Will McClay during this year's draft as we get into our 7th pick, which they go back for their 3rd offensive lineman? And here it is, Nathan Thomas, offensive tackle out of Louisiana.
So this one right here, I think I posted it. Okay, so he's going to be on the right side. So Terrence Steele, get your together. See, I didn't want to use a colorful word, so that's like get your in together.
Because he sure was messing up. He sure been messing up, especially after he got that contract, right?
Yeah. So like between him and Tyler Biadasz and the penalties, I was over it last year. So that's why I'm really not crying over. I mean, yeah, it hurt to lose Tyler Biadasz, but I got tired of hearing his jersey number being penalized for something that he should have been doing. So Nathan Thomas, he's an offensive tackle, of course, with guard ability. So he's a hybrid. He became a full-time starter in 2022. He was an NFL Combine invite. He weighs 332 pounds. Woo! He is 6.5 feet. His wingspan is 83. His arm length is 33 3/4. His hand size, he has big hands, ladies. Y'all know what that means. He got big hands. His hand size is 10 3/4. His vertical jump was 25 inches. His broad jump was 107. He's also going to serve the line as far as intents and purposes to rebuild around Tyler Smith, Zach Martin, and Terrence Steele, which I said, with voids at the offensive tackle and center position. On his Aura AS, on a scale of 1 to 10, he landed a 7.49 grade. He can so we don't have to be worried about him being able to manipulate his own mass. Let's see what else I can give you. Guys, as you can see, I have a whole lot of notes.
No, you're doing great. We appreciate all that input. So if you guys have questions about these specific players as we get through our last couple of players here in the draft, and we're going to get to this elephant in the room, which is why did the Cowboys not draft a running back? Make sure you tune in. But go ahead, Kelly.
Yeah, so one of his comparisons is Jarvis Redu and Delmar Glaze from Maryland.
Okay. So going back to offensive line, I mean, addressing the trenches again, we had holes on both of this. I mean, games are won in the trenches. A lot of folks don't understand. I mean, Dak was the 7th most sacked quarterback in the league last year. That's because folks like Terrence Steele was giving up sacks.
And we no longer had a blocking running back.
That part too, and we're going to get to that in just a minute, as that is a great segue. Thank you for the Nathan Thomas notes there. Drafted round 7, pick 233. As we get into our final pick of the draft, you know, we went back to that defensive side of the ball. We went Justin Rogers, defensive tackle. As we talk about the trenches, closing it up, and that is when Cowboy fans began to lose their mind. What? No running back? How could we draft a defensive tackle and no running back? But go ahead. What kind of notes you got on Justin there, Kelly?
We need someone, since we lost Jonathan Hankins, to clog the hole.
Thank you. A lot of folks don't even realize Big Hank ain't even with us anymore. Big Hank is gone. He's one of the many free agents that left the Cowboys. That's right, because when the Cowboys said they was all in, the free agents said they was all out.
Right. And then another thing about Justin Rogers, the things I don't know if he if anything happens with Mozzie Smith, will he just go right on in? Because we already have our issues with Mozzie. So he is a transfer from Kentucky. He started full time in his position 2 years ago. He is 6 feet 2.5 inches tall. He weighs 330. His wingspan is 79. His arm length is 33 inches. His hand size is 11. His vertical jump is 24.5. His broad jump is 99 inches. His 20-yard shuttle came in at 4.87 seconds, and he bench pressed 21 reps. He is going to be a nose tackle for us. And he's a big boy. He's going to clog that hole, and as well as hopefully stopping the run with Marshawn Nealon.
Great. So there's your 8 draft picks right there. Now you got to remember, we only had 7 coming in. The Cowboys actually traded back with Detroit from 24 to 29, and we still ended up getting our guy, Tyler Guyton, who they liked. With that being said, it gave us an additional pick, being able to equal out the draft capital on both sides of the ball there. But let's get to why did the Cowboys, and I want to hear it from you, Kelly, why did the Cowboys not draft a running back with one of these 8 picks?
I mean, yeah, it was a need. I'm not going to sit here and front and say that it wasn't a need. I was hoping for us to use one of our 2025 comp draft picks so we could trade back into the 4th round. But sometimes now that I look at certain things and how I was able to see how not only with the Cowboys but with other teams, how they move in the war room, going into the 4th round can be sketchy at times. So if we were to enter inside the 4th round, hopefully with another draft pick, then more players that we had looked at would have been taken as teams, but we didn't need that to see it happen because it was playing right in front of our eyes. So when the rounds were coming, especially on day 3, because a lot of those running backs was coming off the board yesterday, and I also mentioned before the draft started in some of your lives, I'm like, the running backs and the wide receivers will be coming off the board between the mid-second all the way down, and we're going to see a lot of it in the 3rd and the 4th round. What happened? A lot of it happened in the 3rd and the 4th round.
Yeah, but this draft wasn't even that deep with running back, though, was it? It
wasn't. This was not.
So, hey, let's just get that off the table. That a lot of folks don't understand. There wasn't running backs amok like there was offensive linemen, as you see this photograph here, as we stoked the fire a little bit. It says Jerry Jones was asked about the Dallas Cowboys not taking a running back on day 2 of the draft. He said that the draft is not over, but that was day 2. Now that the draft is over, he also said that they're interested in what the future might look like with Ezekiel Elliott. As Leandro has a question here, he says, our running back room is unproven. How do you say it's good? Please explain. Before anybody who said it's good here, let me ask you a question. Was our running back unit good last season?
No.
People do not realize Tony Pollard only eclipsed barely over 1,000 yards and had 6 touchdowns on the ground. This was an air out offense last season at 29.9 points per game. I mean, did we remember the season Dak had with CD?
And Dak was not. And I'm gonna be honest with you. You really did not need no reporter to say this. If you were looking at the games that we had, you can tell Dak was really not comfortable with hauling it to Pollard.
Well, I distinctly remember a whole lot of Zeke haters that were saying Zeke lost a step after he got his contract and he was selfish for hanging out in Cabo waiting on Jerry to pay him, and he lost a step after he got it. They were saying Tony Pollard was the dude. But Leandro says, no, our running back unit wasn't even good last season, which leads me to think, why would we invest in the running back room so heavily in this draft and mess our draft up behind an offense, Texas Coast offense that's typically in the air?
But let's say this, though. Let's say if we got rid of one of our sleepers that we got in this draft and we got a running back, how's he going to run through the hole?
I get it.
So we had to solidify our offensive wall. Now, they were already talking about a lot of the running backs because this was not a heavy running back class. This was strictly quarterbacks and offensive line. It really wasn't a lot of DTs when you look at it. Excuse me. So we had to solidify that offensive line, and I knew we had to go in aggressively with the O-line because of heavily populated this offensive line class was in this year's draft. A lot of the ones that we had that we were interested in, it's like we will be playing World War III with 31 other teams trying to get a player. But luckily, our guy fell to us. As you know, because I dropped the T, Washington was trying to get back into the first round to get Tyler Guyton because they wanted to trade. They wanted to trade back in to take our 29th spot and trade out of the first round, and we would have gotten 2 of the Washington picks because Dan Quinn wanted Tyler Guyton before Dan Quinn called. 3 other teams called, and they played we still evaluating who we have on our board, and we'll pull the trigger then. So we'll call you. But when Dan Quinn called and was trying to do that,
they said, "No, not today, player."
No, let me tell you, Stephen Jones was on the phone. Will McClay grabbed the phone from Stephen Jones and told Dan Quinn, hell no. And
man, y'all better put some respect on the Draft Whisperer's name. That's what I'm talking about, baby. You got to like this video for Will McClay handling that situation like a boss. Like, look, bro, you left out of here with all this talent we helped you get. Exactly. And here you go, and then you gonna call us and ask us for some peanut butter? No, player, take that and keep that over there in the nation's capital.
Yep. So, but like they said, a lot of the running backs would have gone in the later rounds and undrafted. So yes, with this possible announcement on Monday, because they're waiting until after the draft to make the
of course brand new day, first day of the new cycle for the week,
right? So we did get, so when I gave you that undrafted, because those were the ones that were signed last night. So when I text you a few hours ago, after I got out of church, I did see a text come through on my phone and said,
yeah, we did sign. We had an undrafted free agent running back, correct? Yes.
Yeah. So so I said, hey, I'm just looking at my phone, and I saw that we have signed Nathaniel Pete,
correct,
for running back. So
and here's the list minus Nathaniel Pete that we posted before Nathaniel Pete was signed. Yeah.
And I can say this was a very good draft. Even though all my picks, I only went 1 for 1 in day 2, and that was in round 2. So the rest after that, my whole draft board just obliterated because I was like, what is going on? Why couldn't it just be like Thursday? Because I had 20 out of 32 of the players going to the teams that I knew that they were going to go for. So I can say that the only disappointment that I have with this draft is that none of the high HBCU prospects were not drafted.
Well, I mean, we know Will and his staff like to look at the HBCU, so it's not like they're neglecting them. It's just maybe they didn't make the cut.
But it's
not
not
like
only
the running backs did.
But it's not only the Cowboys. I'm just looking at all 30. You know,
The other 31, yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at the whole scope. And it's sad that a few of them were signed undrafted, like Aneem Dakwan, the one that from Howard, he was signed to Carolina. Willie Geis, I want to say that's his name, from Virginia State. I think he was also signed to Carolina. Ian Wheeler and I watched him at Howard University's pro day. I forgot what team he went to, but it's just sad that, you know, they came in on the back end, because a lot of those HBCU players should have been drafted later in the round. Maryland College Park, their top two prospects, they got teams in the draft.
All right, as we get ready to wrap it up here, excellent feedback, excellent draft recap. I appreciate all the notes, Kelly. I mean, quite impressive. I've told y'all I know some women that know probably more football than some men. That's me included, and that's okay, because I like to hang out with smart Cowboy fans. But let me ask you this question. You know, there was some news put out about Jimmy Johnson being on an advisory board for the Cowboys. How much impact, if any, or input rather, do you think Jimmy Johnson may have had on this draft? Because a lot of folks are saying, well, the Cowboys only drafted good because Jimmy's on that advisory board.
He was on the phone with Tyler Guyton. They called him as far as with Tyler Guyton.
So Jimmy was on the scene? Is that what we're saying?
He wasn't in the war room from the pictures I've seen, but
he was in the discussion. He was in the chat.
Because
Okay. That's good to hear. I'm glad to hear that, because we need all the help we can get right about now. And I think,
so as far as the way that Will McClay handled the draft, I'll give him an A. But the players that we got, as far as right now on paper, because we have not seen them in a Ricky mini camp, the mandatory mini camp, the training camp has not happened yet, and preseason has not started. So on paper right now, I give it a B+. But Will McClay, I give an A. The way that he handled it, especially the way that he just shaded Dan Quinn. Oh,
gotta love that, man. And with that, as we opened it up, we're gonna close it out, man. Are y'all finished or y'all done? I mean, the fact that Will snatched the phone from Jerry and told DQ, keep that shit over there. I got a brand new found respect for Will McClay, but I give him an A+ simply because before going into this draft, everybody said the Cowboys were rebuilding. We're done. It's over with. We're going to lose more games than we're going to win. I mean, the draft whisperer paid the rent, baby. Now he goes and finds the talent, and we understand Mike Zimmer and his coaching staff, along with Mike McCarthy and all those guys, have got to develop this talent. But considered to where we were before coming in the draft, and the fact that the NFL gave Will McClay an F on their assessment. Yeah, I didn't argue that. I didn't argue that either.
Yeah, that was disheartening. And also one more thing about the running back. Everyone keep looking at, as far as with Dalvin Cook, because he is a Zimmer guy. He's still on the board as free agency. So once the draft is over now, so they can still go back and look at the free agency market.
Yeah, we're going to have the post-draft free agency market. We're going to have the post-June 1st cap casualty market. And for everybody that's saying, you know, well, we don't have a clear-cut running back. Well, look, we've signed Royce Freeman. We still got Deuce Vaughn. There's talks about Ezekiel Elliott that's going to come out this week officially that he's there. I mean, running back by committee. We got a power back short yardage situation. We've got a slasher and a cutter. I mean, Rico Dowdle ran with purpose last year. I think it's time they reward Rico a little bit more this season. I like what he brings. We'll be fine. after the fact we didn't draft a running back in this draft, because I believe that running back by committee will work itself out. Because after all, you know what they're saying about running backs now? They're like a dime a dozen in the NFL, and they're devalued all to hell.
Yep.
Well, good deal, Kelly. So what you got planned for the rest of this Sunday before we get out of here today? I know you done been to church, but you got some cleaning to do. You gonna do some cooking, or you gonna do some more looking up on them boards?
I'm still gonna be looking at the board, see what's going on as far as we're undrafted, and I'm gonna take another nap.
I heard that. You deserve one, especially after putting in work here today. I appreciate you joining me on the draft recap.
For the last 3 months, you had me working BG for the last 3 months.
Hey, I am not a crook. Hey, y'all know Kelly has been bringing it. I have not had to motivate her. She has been on her grind. So y'all give it up for Kelly. She's been putting it down for the ladies here, even outside of Women's History Month. So, like I said, I know some women that know more football than some men, and that's me included. But that's why y'all hang out with us here on Build Different Group. I'm BG. That's my girl Kelly over there. This been the Draft Recap Show. We'll see y'all in the gym on the next episode.